Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're here for the fourth episode of the Hail Marys Parlay podcast. I'm here with JB, and today we're just going to go over NFL picks for this upcoming week. I don't remember if we calculated who did better last week on our picks, but I think last week was a little bit shaky for both of us. But I want to say maybe you hit a few more than I did, but I know you got the Packers game. I I don't know. I mean, I think I got the Colts one. I'm not
You
100%
got
sure.
the Colts
Both
one.
okay.
Yeah, you got the Colts one correct.
Yeah. So yes, we're just going to go over the NFL Week 8 schedule, starting tonight with the Rams and the Vikings. Rams are sitting 3-point underdogs. There was a trade rumor earlier this week that Stafford could potentially be traded, and one of the options is surprisingly Minnesota, even though Darnold's played pretty well. He's had a few games where he's regressed a little bit, but I think last week he put up some decent numbers. I don't really see that happening, but I think right now, even though the Rams have Cooper Kupp back, they struggle with the Raiders, who are arguably the worst team in the league at this point. So I'm gonna go out and say that I think the Vikings should get it done tonight. I think they'll win this game, and I kind of like one of my props. I'd say maybe let's go Aaron Jones 2 touchdowns. That could be an interesting one if he is. Yeah, he's perfectly healthy. I could see him having a big game. I think the Rams have a pretty weak linebacking core, and yeah, I think the Rams win. I think the Vikings win this game pretty comfortably. I mean, I think the Rams are always dangerous with Stafford, and they're getting ready to trade Cooper Kupp. That's most likely going to get done the next week or two. So we'll see what happens, but yeah, I'm definitely going with the Vikings to win and cover.
I like the Vikings pick as well, minus 150. I think there's a lot of value for that pick. Yes, the Rams are pretty desperate, 2-5 record, I believe, so they're going to be playing pretty desperate ball tonight. Vikings defense being top two in PPR leagues for fantasy is pretty promising for them to come up big defensively, maybe get a pick or two, maybe a pick six. We'll see. I don't know. Not obviously it's possible with Van Ginkel. I do like Sam Darnold. I guess for a player prop, which would be insane, would be alternate touchdowns. I could see him throwing 3 touchdowns today
Okay.
uh, against a pretty weak secondary for the Rams. And I think you said what Aaron Jones you like for rushing. He probably will go over 80 yards rushing. But yeah, should be a good game for the Vikings to show out in LA. And I picked them to win it.
Nice. Yeah. So I think we're both on board there. I could definitely see also Darnold having a big game. I think the Rams secondary has been a little bit meh. They are a good home team though. I mean, and they're going to be desperate. So we'll see if they put up a good fight. But I don't know. Next game is going to be the Ravens at the Browns. Ravens sitting -8. I kind of like them in the spot. I mean, Deshaun Watson. Say what you want about the guy. He had an Achilles injury, and there's a crazy story about the fans like cheering, saying you deserve it, and like, yeah, obviously, I as a kid I would watch, not a kid, but in my early college, whatever times I would watch Deshaun Watson play. I kind of like Clemson, and he was a great college player, and then he started his career really electric with the Texans, and then obviously the whole thing with the massage stuff. Nobody can condone that. That was messed up. But I think it's a tough decision, but I think that it is a little bit cowardly in some ways for fans to cheer for someone to get injured because we know if the guy was playing well and playing an MVP level, most fans would not be. They're still showing up to the games. They would be more supportive, and obviously it's because the Browns are terrible this year that happens. So yeah, the Browns last week, they showed some fight, I guess. They only lost by 7 to the Bengals, but I think the Ravens are just a different monster. Derrick Henry right now is running the ball really well. Lamar's playing great. I think that the Ravens should just win and cover this game for a player prop. Everybody can go off for the Ravens in this one. Maybe I'll go Zay Flowers 100 plus yards. I think that's something possible. He didn't get a touchdown last week somehow, even though a lot of targets were going to Rashad Bateman. But yeah, I think the Ravens are really hitting their stride at the right time, and I think that Cleveland they might actually get a spark from starting Jameis Winston, but I still think the Ravens will cover this game just because they're a lot better than Cleveland, who's going to eventually start to sell off their players. It'll be very interesting to see if Myles Garrett gets put in a trade or Denzel Ward or one of these veteran players that obviously doesn't want to be in Cleveland right now. So yeah, I'm taking the Ravens to cover and win.
Great. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pick the Ravens as well. A little concerned about the line being plus 8.5, but I guess I'll go with you as well minus 8.5. The Ravens will cover. The Browns season looks pretty much over, but they're going with Jameis Winston, which I believe is the right choice for the quarterback for this week. I really want to see something from Nick Chubb. I'm thinking player prop, him any TD feels like a good one. He got a TD last week, didn't really run much, but they also kind of limited what we saw from Nick Chubb. I think it was 11 rushes for 22 yards, which isn't great, obviously, 2 yards per carry, but he did have a TD. So I think he's going to continue that, get a TD this week. When it comes to the game, my concern is Zay Flowers, how big this injury is. If it's really serious, it doesn't look like it is, but Bateman will be ready. Same with Mark Andrews, who's been playing like his life depends on it. So I could see also Mark Andrews continuing and getting a touchdown. He had 2 TDs last week against the Buccaneers, against a really soft pass coverage, which I think is ranked like number 10 in fantasy or ESPN, one of the rankings. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I like the Nick Chubb's touchdown because of the porous defense from the Ravens, especially late game situations. They allowed the Buccaneers to come back when they really shouldn't have. So yeah, so I like Nick Chubb anytime TD, Mark Andrews anytime TD, and minus 8.5 cover by the Ravens.
Okay, nice. All right, next game we have is going to be the Colts at the Texans. Texans sitting -5. They had a disappointing offensive game against Packers. They lost that game on a walk-off field goal. Looking at this one, trying to think what I want to go with here. I mean, the Colts are 4-3. They've always been pretty competitive under their coach Shane Steichen the first few years. But you want to go with the upset here? Let me see it. Injury report. Nico Collins being out. Jonathan Taylor.
Richardson, the quarterback, it looks like.
Yeah, he's still back. Yeah, he led them to win last week, even though he didn't play great. No, I'll take the Texans to win. I kind of would avoid the line at -5. I feel like division games be a little bit closer. I don't really trust Texans cover right now. Their CJ Stroud has not been great the past against quality competition lately. Last week, I think he had barely 100 yards. Even let me check that. Actually, I think he had a pretty bad game against the.
Very
86 yards, 10 to 21, 86 yards. It's not going to do it. But I think he has a bounce back game at home, and I think I like the Texans to win this game. And for a prop, maybe let's go with Anthony Richardson over 50 rushing yards. It's just one that I think he's going to use his feet. It's against good pass rush, decent secondary. I think he's going to have to make some plays with his legs. Maybe he'll get a anytime touchdown for him too.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'm going to pick the Texans here. I understand why, Brandon, you're concerned about the spread here. Maybe I'll go with -2.5 spread Texans, but I believe they're going to win. They're going to have to really rely on Joe Mixon, the run game, to come out with the win. I don't know for sure. I think it's questionable if Taylor will be back for this game, which just kind of makes it difficult to still pick the Texans, because if he comes back, it's going to be a pretty tough game for the Texans. They're going to have to stop him. But I do like the Texans here as long as they rely on Joe Mixon, get Tank Dell involved, as well as Stephon Diggs. I could see them squeaking out with a win at home against the Colts. And I do like Tank Dell to bounce back and get an anytime touchdown.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I could definitely see that too. All right, next game we have is going to be the Packers at the Jaguars. I would love to pick the Jags in the spot. I think they looked a little bit better last week, but I don't think they're going to have much of a home field advantage. I think that the things that they struggle with, like stopping the pass, I think they're one of the worst teams against the pass this year. I think that the Packers will be able to throw the ball around, and I think that they might also be able to stop the run a little bit against the Jags. And I just think that they're the better overall team. Sitting -3.5, I think they'll probably cover that spread. And a stat that I would like in this game is maybe Josh Jacobs getting 2 touchdowns. I could see that happening. They'll be in the red zone a lot. I think that he's going to be able to put up a big game. And maybe I'll also go Brian Thomas over 80 yards. I think that's a good one because he he's definitely established himself as number one receiver for that team, and I think that it's going to be a higher scoring game. The over under in this game is going to be at 49.5. I think it probably goes over that, but I could see it being like a 34-20 type of game, something like that, in favor of Green Bay. So, yeah, I'm taking the Packers.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Packers here. I think they're gonna cover the spread -3.5. I'll probably do some small parlay where they cover the alternate spread. That's I think -8.5. My main concern with the Jaguars is if they do rely too heavy on Etienne, they might not make the switch soon enough for Tanks Bigsby to get more involved because he's been pretty reliable for them to get their 2 wins. So I could see them heavily relying on Etienne coming back from injury. Peterson, the coach, already stated that he's going to have Etienne still be the number one back. Thinks it's not fair to bench him because of injury, which I understand. But Tanks Bigsby's definitely been a catalyst for that team. So it really depends on that. But if the Jaguars get him involved and they get Brian Thomas Jr., their best wide receiver, involved, I believe they have a shot to maybe not upset, but make the game extremely close. But I think there's just too much going on right now for the Packers. Their defense is playing outstanding. They got a great wide receiver play. So I would say anytime TD, Romeo Dobbs going to continue that, get a TD, and I actually like Tucker Kraft as well, getting a TD. So the tight end for the Packers.
Yeah, definitely could see that. Okay, next game we have is going to be the Titans at the Lions. Lions sitting 11-point favorites. Tennessee started the game out pretty well against Buffalo. They're up 10-0, and I was a little bit surprised by that, but I know they have a feisty defense. But they ended up getting blown out. They lost 34-10, I think. So I'm gonna take the Lions to win, probably cover. I think it's a pretty easy game for them. One of the props that I would go with is maybe just Jared Goff over 2 touchdowns. I think they're gonna put the game away early, and yeah, we'll see what happens. But I think that Mason Rudolph has probably still played better than Will Levis has. Will Levis is questionable with an injury. Calvin Ridley's questionable. So I don't think there's too much to say about this game. It's just terrible team playing against pretty good teams. So definitely just going to take the Lions here. I think there's no reason not to.
Yeah, they said Will Levis is going to start, right? I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Okay, if he starts and they don't switch him out, I believe the Lions will definitely cover -11. They might also beat the alternate spread -16.5, which is really high, but I could see them doing it because the Titans really have nothing going on for them other than uh, Pollard, who they'll have to definitely rely on to keep the game maybe in arm's reach, or Spears, their second running back. But there's just too many weapons for the Lions, and their defense is starting to come together despite the injury to it's Hutchinson, right?
Yeah, Hutchinson's out for the year.
Yeah, he's out for the year. Yeah. So despite that, I still like the Lions defense coming up strong, especially if Will Levis stays in the game. But I could see also the coach pulling him out if he, throws 2 picks early and kind of give them a shot to, win the game. But yeah, -16.5 Lions, -11 feels good for sure, which is the current line. And I guess for a player prop, I could see Sam Laporta getting an anytime TD.
Okay, nice. Next game we have is the Falcons at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Bucs obviously had 2 brutal injuries. Their 2 best players, probably Godwin and Evans. It's in Tampa. The Falcons, I was at the game last week, and they do have some good offensive weapons. Like Bijan Robinson's pretty good. Tyler Algier is good. I would probably parlay both those guys to get a touchdown, I think. And I think Tampa could run the ball and they could keep it close. I mean, Bucky Irving's been looking pretty good. They have some other young players, but I don't think they'll be able to keep up with Atlanta. I think both teams are pretty bad defenses, but I just see in this game, I see Kirk Cousins type of quarterback where he's not going to have 2 bad games. I think even though Baker's also been having a good season. He just doesn't have anyone really to throw the ball to at this point with the injuries that occurred. So yeah, I'm gonna take Atlanta. I think they're the best team in the division. I think that they had a bad showing last week. I don't expect that to continue. And I mean, both these defenses are terrible, so
Right.
I could see Tampa keeping it close. But Definitely at the line being -2.5. I'm gonna take the Falcons, and like I said, I'll take both the running backs score. I think both those guys are pretty physical runners who they'll will lean on heavily because I think that one of their issues in the last game was that they probably gave up on the run a little bit too early at that game against Seattle because the Seahawks have struggled to stop the run and they kind of gave up on that. And then once you get Kirk Cousins' situation where he's throwing the ball, he's not a great quarterback under pressure like a lot of these not too mobile older quarterbacks. So yeah, I could see Atlanta will probably get it done this week and put a little separation for this up in the NFC South.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you, Brandon. I think Atlanta's gonna take care of business. Obviously, it was a bad game for them at home against the Seahawks last week, which you went to.
Yeah.
But I think they're gonna bounce back. The Buccaneers, unfortunately, have a lot of injuries with the Mike Evans being out for at least week 11, Chris Godwin out with a dislocated ankle for the season, so it's a season-ending injury, and they're going to really have to rely the Bucs on the running game with their three system back with Tucker, Irving, and Rashad White as their starter. But I just don't believe they have enough firepower, especially with a porous defense too. Both teams have a porous defense, but I think the Falcons will squeak by with a win. And I mean, I've been saying it too much, but I think anytime TD, it's time for Kyle Pitts to finally get a
I know.
TD. Finally, this is the type of game he has to come up big.
Well, last week he started out really hot. The first quarter or something, he had like 3 or 4 catches, and then after that, kind of they stopped giving the ball. So
I'm standing on business, 10 toes down, ready for a touchdown
yeah,
from Kyle Pitts.
no, I can see it. It's not the worst shot here. One of my favorite plays we'll get into it now, but I'll just say it. I think that Brock Bowers having a touchdown against the Chiefs this week at home. I think that he'll put up a good fight. I mean, that team is in shambles. They just signed Desmond Ritter as like a total bust to compete with Gardner Minshew now that Aiden O'Connell's out for a little bit. So that's a lot of these tight ends. Those are two tight ends I have in fantasy. I feel like one of them needs to break out. And what's the name? Brock Bowers had a really good season. He's almost at 500 yards, less than halfway through the year as a tight end. That's very impressive. But that's one of the picks that I like. All right, next game we have is going to be the Jets at the Patriots. Jets sitting -7. I don't trust them to cover that -7. I'm not going to be. It would be funny if they lost the Patriots somehow, but I don't think they're going to lose to the Patriots. I think they'll win that one. I can see Davante Adams getting his first touchdown. And for props, I have. While we were doing this, I was cooking up some crazy parlays because whenever we talk about these things, I just want to get my ideas rolling and see in this game. I had a 4-leg parlay that's combined. That's a bunch of other picks, but Davante Adams anytime touchdown or Ramondre Stevenson anytime touchdown. Because you could see the Jets kind of struggled to start Najee Harris last week, and Ramondre is a similar bigger back that they'll have to stop. I have Drake May getting over half a touchdown, so 1 touchdown. Rodgers throwing for 2 touchdowns. So that's the parlay I like in this one. And yeah, I like the Jets to win, but I think the Patriots might cover.
I think you probably are right on this one. The Patriots could make this close. -7 is a pretty tough line.
Yeah.
Especially how the Jets have been playing. They've been playing a lot of close games, but then if they lose, they're losing either by blowouts or close games, and it just feels like they haven't been winning in forever, right? It feels like it's been a drought for so long. But player props, I think you're right with Davante Adams. Anytime TD looks good. I really like also Hunter Henry here for the rookie quarterback Drake May. I could see him getting an anytime TD. Right now, he's top 10 in fantasy PPR leagues, which is impressive, especially, I guess, because every tight end seems like they're not doing well this year in fantasy, except for like Brock Bowers. But yeah, he's top 10 in fantasy. He had a big game last week. So I think the rookie is going to really rely on the tight end here to get some plays going. And the Patriots could make it close. But yeah, I'll just go with Jets. And if I'm going to go spread, I would say -3.5. So I don't like the 7. But yeah, Jets are going to win by just a small margin.
And your prop was going to be Hunter Henry for this one? You think that he's going to?
Yeah, I like Hunter Henry, and then I guess if we could say Davante Adams, we can go to as another player prop, get his first touchdown with the Jets.
Yeah, definitely. I can see that. Now it's time for a segment that we're going to go over the bad beat of the week. I had a bet last week that came pretty close to hitting, but I would like to share with everybody. It's gonna be, and go back to Sunday.
The tough one.
Yeah. So I had I'll show it to the camera here. Where's my camera? There we go. So I'll just read to everybody. I've got Brian Thomas Jr. anytime touchdown. That hit. Brian Thomas over 52.5 receiving yards. He got 89. Drake May over 275 passing yards. He got 276. I was very lucky on that one. Then in the Lions-Vikings game, I had Justin Jefferson over 6.5 receptions. He got 7. I had Jamar Chase anytime touchdown. And I had David Montgomery over 65 yards, which he got 31 because they gave Jahmyr Gibbs. And this was a plus 24,575 parlay. That was $20 to win, like I believe 5,400 or something like that. So that is one that I would like to share a dub next time. But I do like the fact that we're getting close in a lot of these. I think that right now is the middle of the season. The beginning of the year, a lot of offenses struggle, but now I think these parlays could start hitting because once you get to the middle of the season, you really find out who teams are, what they do well, what they don't do well. The good players start to stand out, and teams put up more numbers, more injuries on defense. And a lot of teams, unfortunately, NFL, they struggle with injuries or they start firing their coaches. They kind of know who they are. So a lot of these teams that are 2-win teams, 3-win teams, they're going to give up a lot of yards. You saw what happened with the Commanders and the Panthers last week. I think I put in a few bets. The Panthers would cover like 17 and 11 or something, and they just got absolutely smoked by Marcus Mariota because Jaden Daniels got hurt. So that's just one way to show that, these bets can hit. Definitely fire them. I think it's a pretty profitable thing, even though they are hard to hit. You can go a little bit smaller, maybe do 3 legs or whatever, but a lot of these things, they do hit, especially if you watch teams and their offenses are flowing and their O-lines are good. Good players put up good numbers. All right, next game we have is the Cardinals at the Dolphins, which I know you were discussing potentially going to. It's going to be a decent game. I feel like this is a must-win game for both teams. The Cardinals had a good win for them last week against the Chargers. And trying to think of what prop I would like in this one. I think that I'm going to take the Dolphins to win, but I think my favorite prop is maybe to go Marvin Harrison over 60 yards and a touchdown. That guy has been completely a ghost the past month or so of the season, but I think that I think they're due for one. You look at Kyler Murray; he's having a pretty good season statistically. He has 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, plus he has a handful of rushing touchdowns. And I mean, this is a tough game. I mean, honestly, the reason why I'm taking the Dolphins, probably one of the reasons I just want them to win a little bit more because the Cardinals are in Seattle's division. But I don't know about this. I feel like Tua coming back will help them a little bit. He wasn't looking great before the injury, but I think that I don't know. I think that the Dolphins are built to win a little bit more right now. I think they have Jordan Brooks, the former Seahawks linebacker. He'll be able to stop the run a little bit, help them stop the run a little bit. They don't have the worst defense, and I feel like with Tua coming back, they should be able to control this game. I think they're stronger at both lines of scrimmage, even though the offensive line isn't great. I think Miami might have a good game. Calais Campbell, he'll be able to stop the run. That's a revenge game for him. Side note on Calais Campbell, he actually plays poker. I've seen him around one of the local casinos, played a few times. Then super nice guy, so I've got a soft spot for him. I'm rooting for him, and I think the Dolphins are ready to get a big home win this week. But it's a very close game. I don't really know. I'd say my prop would be Marvin Harrison just because the Dolphins have a little bit of a weak secondary. Jalen Ramsey, I hate to say it, might be a little bit washed at this point, and I think that guy's going to want to prove that he was worthy of a top 5 pick.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go out of the list. I guess this one's a game where I'll go crazy on the parlays or just go out of the limb. So I'm going to say Tua is going to hit 325 passing yards, even though the Cardinals defense really impressive everything last week, or how they kept the game low scoring, especially in the red zone against the Chargers. But they had trouble in stopping the pass, which was, I think, Herbert had over 300 yards passing. So I could see Tua going off for his first game back, 325 plus passing yards, which is at plus 575 right now on the Hard Rock app. I could also see Tyreek Hill getting at least 1 TD, but I'm going to say he's going to get, which is a drum roll, which is pretty crazy, 3 TDs. I think he's going to get 3 TDs. He looks excited. He's ready for the quarterback, and that's a pretty good value. 3,000 plus 3,000 right now for 3 TDs. So that's for Tyreek Hill. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So that's my player props. for this week for the Dolphins, and I think they're gonna smash the Cardinals with the spread. So let me see. The alternate spread right now is -8.5. I'll say -6.5 feels good, which is at +135. So Dolphins all the way.
Nice. Okay, next game we got is going to be the Eagles of the Bengals. This could be this is definitely the best 1 o'clock game. It's gonna be a really good fight here. Both these teams have had pretty inconsistent seasons, but I feel like the Bengals have been better as of late. Um, I think Joe Burrow is definitely the better quarterback in this game, but I think that the Bengals they've struggled to stop the run. Their offensive line's been shaky throughout Burrow's career, and I think that I don't know how the Bengals are gonna be able to stop Philly. I mean, I think the way Philly's defensive line has been good, has been playing recently. It's been impressive. I think they're going to be able to get to Burrow. They're going to be able to rattle him a little bit, and I want the Bengals to win, but I think the Eagles being underdogs in this one, I think they should get it done. Probably. I think that I kind of like Saquon, AJ Brown, and Jamar Chase to all get touchdowns in this game, and I just see the Eagles being the better team here. I think that not too much, Sam. I think the Bengals are going to be desperate too, but I'm not a Hurts believer, but I think that he's going to be able to do enough to get them the win. I think with AJ Brown being healthy, Philadelphia is a way different team, and with all the firepower they've had in offense, coming off a big win against the Giants, who are not very good, but it's still a division road win. I think the Eagles will carry their momentum and get the win here, even though they're favorites or they're underdogs in Cincinnati. I think they're the better overall team, in my opinion.
Great. Yeah, I think I'll go on the record different. I'll go on the Bengals this one. It's a pretty close matchup, though. I could see both teams scoring a lot of points. Uh, Barkley should have a great game. Uh, my only question mark for the Bengals is really I don't know who they're going to go with in terms of the running game. If they're going to rely on Chase Brown or they're going to rely on Zach Moss just for pass plays. So it's a big question mark, but I think they'll squeak by with a win. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are playing some of the best, wide receiver ball right now that I've seen in a minute. So they're definitely clicking with Joe Burrow, but I think it's gonna be a close game. Bengals squeak a win, so money line -140, and I guess player props. I do like AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith had a week last week. I think he bounces back, and both wide receivers for the Eagles get a touchdown. And I could see Jamar Chase continuing and getting a touchdown as well.
Okay, nice. Next game we have is going to be sorry, let me go back to that. It's going to be the Saints at the Chargers at 4:05. I think the Chargers will win this one. I mean, the Saints, I'm pretty sure they're going to go with Rattler, even though their third string quarterback actually looked a little bit better. It was the guy, Jake Haener, who fellow Fresno State quarterback.
Oh, Jake from State Farm, right?
Yeah, exactly. So Kamara's questionable. He just got an extension, then got a hand injury. But I think the Saints are just a really falling apart team. Right. Justin Herbert, who was not projected that big game last week, ended up getting 300 something yard. But it was like 370 or something crazy. He really balled out for them. 349. Even though he was like, I think to get over 300 yards, it's like plus 600 or something crazy. So that was I had him over 250 or something like that, and he easily covered that almost by halftime. I think the Saints, the Chargers, they have pretty good defense. I think they're going to run the ball better. I think they're going to control the game. And the Saints look like a broken football team. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries. At the beginning of the year, I thought they were undervalued. I thought they had some good things going, but right now it seems like Olave is hurt, Shaheed's hurt. It's just a mess there. I think right now they're in contention to probably tank and get a franchise quarterback. I think that Derek Carr's seen his best days. He's injured right now, but he is your prototypical very mid quarterback that's going to go down the same path as like someone like Andy Dalton, where they're good at times, but they're not a quarterback you can rely on. They're definitely not not starter quality anymore. Too injury prone. So yeah, I think that the Chargers had the way better coach too. I think it's a total coaching mismatch. Dennis Allen, he's had his moments, but he's really not a quality NFL head coach. I'll be surprised he's back with the Saints next year. That's probably, if I had to put a future on it, say that might be the next coach to get fired. Him or maybe Mike McCarthy, because with what's going on in Dallas, that's also a disaster. But yeah, give me the Chargers to win. And for a prop, I would like I'll take J.K. Dobbins to get over 60 yards and touchdown. I think that he had a pretty bad game last week. But they also have this Vidal kid who's been getting more carries too. So we'll see what happens. But definitely a game that the Chargers should bounce back and win.
Yeah, Chargers been pretty mediocre, 3-3 record. Obviously lost a lot. Very close game last week against the Cardinals in Phoenix. This is a big game for them. They need to win this game. There's no excuse. If they lose this game, there's going to be a lot of question marks about this team. There already is question marks, but more question marks, I guess. But it's -7 right now, the spread. I expect them to show out at home. I even like the alternative spread, which is, I think right now they have -13 is +170. That's probably too high. But I like -9.5 for the Chargers +115. And in terms of player props, I mean, we need to see, red zone production out of Justin Herbert. It's, pretty disappointing. He had over 300 passing yards and wasn't able to really be successful in the end zone last week. But I could see J.K. Dobbins doing well. They're going to probably rely on him with the run game. I could see him hitting over 80 rushing yards. And there's just too many question marks with the Saints. They look like a disaster. Rattler's not good. He wasn't really good in Oklahoma. And Olave is coming back, which is promising for the Saints, but I just don't think it's enough. I mean, Kamara's doing, as much as he can with a very, porous offense. So, yeah, I like the Chargers here, -9.5, and J.K. Dobbins, any TD, as well as 80 rushing yards.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're both on the same page there. Okay, next game is going to be the Bills with the Seahawks. Bills sitting 3-point favorites. For some reason, I feel no, I don't feel more confident. Next, Bills are a really good team, but I feel better about Seattle. They played a lot better last week. They got some pass rush going. They had some young players step up for them. The corner Josh Jobe, he had some big plays. They stopped the pass pretty well, actually. They got some pass rush. They rattled Kirk Cousins. The run stopping wasn't great, but they just traded for a linebacker, Ernest Jones from the Titans, who was the Rams' former linebacker, and he had a very good past few years for the Rams. They traded him for 6th-round pick, and then this week they swapped Jerome Baker plus a 4th-round pick Tennessee for Ernest Jones, who is a good linebacker, and that's really one of Seattle's weaknesses, that interior offensive line. And just getting Ernest Jones in the mix will be good. I think that he'll be able to help them stop the run a little bit. I think that having Tariq Woolen back for this game will help the Seahawks, and I think that DK Metcalf is questionable. I mean, do you want to say? Yeah, I'm going to say that if Metcalf, I'll take my Seahawks either way, but I think if DK plays, it will give them a much better chance to compete against Buffalo. I'd like to see a better game from Jack Smith-Njigba. He's the former 1st-round pick. He's had a little bit of a slow start to the year. He gets open, but he had a key drop against the Giants, which kind of cost him the game almost. And then I think Geno needs to really prove that he could be consistent. I think that he's had a good year. He's leading the NFL in passing yards, but he also is an inconsistent player. I think the Bills not having Von Miller for this game because he's suspended or something like that will it's either a suspension or an injury. I forgot, but he was out for 4 weeks. That's going to hurt them a little bit. I think Seattle will be able to run the ball in Buffalo, and they'll be able to stop the run a little bit better now, getting this new impressive linebacker. So I never like playing Josh Allen. I feel like Seattle's gonna have a tough time stopping him and tackling him. But I feel like Buffalo, even though they traded for Amari Cooper, their receiving core is not the best at this point. It's pretty young, pretty inexperienced, and yeah, I'm gonna take my Seahawks to win a close game here. I think it really go either way. A prop that I like is maybe Kenneth Walker over 80 yards and touchdown. I think that, especially if DK Metcalf doesn't play, I think they're going to use Kenneth Walker a lot. I think that last week they were kind of hesitant with him. He wasn't feeling his best. He got like 14 carries, but Seattle's going to need him to win this game for sure. They're going to need to control the clock, limit time possession. I mean, actually control time possession, because a lot of times when a team is a little bit of an underdog, they want to control the clock. And I mean, I think that if they start using Charbonnet, who, I mean, he's an okay player, but he's a 2nd-round pick and I call him 1 yard Char, because whenever Seattle uses him out of the shotgun, the guy literally gets like 1 yard every time. He can catch the ball a little bit, but he doesn't play to the physicality that you would need. He doesn't play like a Ramondre Stevenson or Najee Harris. He doesn't play like that type of player, even though he probably should. So yeah, I think Seattle gets the win here. I think the Buffalo is riding high off a few good wins, but I think that if Seattle can hold them under 24 points, I think they have a really good chance to win this game, even though Buffalo is definitely probably playing like a top 5 team in the league. So it's gonna be a tough game for them. But yeah, give me my Hawks in this one to get back-to-back wins and get back on track.
Yeah, it's a very tough game. Probably one of the toughest games this week to pick because Seahawks lost, I think, 2 weeks ago against the 49ers right at home. They got stunned on Thursday Night Football. It's back at home for the Seahawks. They just came off a great win against the Falcons, and the Bills won last week as well. It's going to be a tough game. Both quarterbacks, I expect big things, especially through the air this week. But I think it might come down to the run game. Who establishes the run better? Who can have control of the clock, possessions, more possessions. So I'm going to give the Bills just a slight edge. Really, the big question mark is, will James Cook perform big this week? If he does, I expect the Bills to get it done on the road in Seattle. And for player props, I like James Cook, 1 touchdown, Kenneth Walker, 1 touchdown, and I like as well Keon Coleman, who emerged again last week with 125 yards, no touchdown, but definitely did a great job because of the Amari Cooper trade. So now he's going to be a little bit more open as the second wideout for the Buffalo Bills, and I expect big things with him this week in Seattle and have 1 touchdown at least.
Okay, nice. Next game we have is going to be the the Bears, the Commanders. Jaden Daniels being questionable in this game to play is a tough one. I don't know about this game. I think that the Bears definitely have the better defense. They've got a better pass rush, but I don't know. Something tells me that I think the Commanders will pull it off. I think just at home, it's going to be one of the bigger games they'll play. They're 5-2. They want to solidify themselves as playoff contenders, and I think that I don't know. I think that Caleb Williams looked a lot better in the past few games, but I think that this is a spot where it might be tough for him. It's a 4 p.m. game on the road. They can really go either way. I think both these teams are good, not great. I don't think that I think whoever wins this game it has a fast track to make the playoffs because I don't think either of them really win their division. I think that even though the Commanders have been great so far, I think that Philadelphia they're more in a win now mode right now compared to Washington. But give me Washington this one for a player prop. I would just mean involving Jaden Daniels maybe, but now I think I did do a parlay here, and I'm going to go with DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin both to get touchdowns. I think that both these teams have I think Washington particularly has a pretty weak secondary. And the Bears, even though they have Jalen Johnson, who's probably a top 5 corner in the league, I still think that Terry will get his. I think that he has a good connection with Jaden, and even with Mariota, I feel like Mariota's a capable backup quarterback who could come in and win this game for them. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to take the Commanders.
Great. Yeah, the Bears are coming off a bye week. I'm gonna go with the Bears here. Money line. It's gonna be a pretty close game. Both teams are talented, but if Jane Daniels isn't playing as quarterback, I like my chances with the Bears here. They also have a top 4 fantasy defense in PPR leagues. I do like for player props. I think Keenan Allen's going to continue what he did right before the bye week. He had 2 TDs, I think 41 passing yards. So I expect him to get 1 TD. And I do expect a big game for DeAndre Swift for the Bears to establish that they're the team that is ready to win on the road. And they'll mix it up with some Caleb Williams. He's been looking really strong lately, especially in fantasy with his numbers. So I could see him passing for over 227 yards is what the current line is having him for passing yards. So I like Caleb Williams over 227 yards. I do like DeAndre Swift. Apologize the noise in the background. 1 TD, and then who else? Keenan Allen, 1 TD.
Okay, nice. Next game we have is going to be the Chiefs at the Raiders. I'm going to take the Chiefs to win this game, and I think they're actually going to get a comfortable win. I could take them maybe getting like a 13-plus point win. I think that they're going to really bounce back in the spot. My prop for this game is going to be I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes to get 3 touchdowns. I think he's due for a big game. I think that he has had a pretty rough start to the season, especially for his standards, but they're winning games. I think that DeAndre Hopkins will get a touchdown. I kind of like Xavier Worthy do the same. I'm actually trying to bet this game currently because I do like what I see here. But yeah, I think the Chiefs are going to have a bounce back game for sure. And I do also like Brock Bowers to get involved and have a decent game. But yeah, I'm gonna take Brock Bowers to actually get a touchdown this one too. Even though the Chiefs have very good defense, but yeah, it's kind of what I'm going to go with here. I don't think there's too much to say here. The Raiders definitely just tanking team. I don't know what they're going to do with Antonio Pierce. I feel like he's a good motivator. The players like him, but they're in rebuilding mode right now.
Right.
And even though they do play well against the Chiefs, sometimes it's more when they're on the road. And I think that in this game, this is a good game for the Chiefs to just try and get it together. I think I have DeAndre Hopkins and Xavier Worthy scoring, and Brock Bowers. But yeah, take Xavier Worthy getting a touchdown here and maybe Patrick Mahomes to get 3 touchdowns. That would be the safest ones I'd go with. I feel like, yeah, I feel like this is a get right spot for the Chiefs. I mean, even though they're winning, they need to have an impressive win. So that's something to go with.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on this. This is definitely a game for the Chiefs to show how impressive overall their team is defensively, offensively. So I expect them to destroy the spread. It's right now -10 currently on the Hard Rock app. I could see -13.5. That I'm going to go with that +130. So by 2 touchdowns against the Raiders. Player prop wise, I do like Patrick Mahomes over 238 yards. I think that's pretty safe.